Hey, everybody. It's Eric live alongside Rod to go over MSU's 89-56 win over the East Carolina Pirates in the Fort Meyers Tipoff Classic. Of course, this is a warm-up to the Thanksgiving matchup between Michigan State and North Carolina after the Lions game. Before we started, big thanks to Kathy Keller for a one-time support of the show via PayPal. Her message, love the podcast. Thanks. You're welcome, Kathleen. And we enjoyed putting the show out, and thanks for your support and the content we're putting out. If you'd like to join Kathy and our awesome legion of fans, please join our support page at tffinots.com, there./support, where you can find ways to join our fans at Patreon and Substack to get ad-free versions of the audio podcast, or just a one-time donation like Kathy did today. You can also link up with our sponsors or two, of course. Now for some news, we're going to start having, you see a link on the screen if you're watching. You can vote in our polls. We're at slido.com. Hashtag is TFFINOTS. You can go there at any time during the show, and we're going to have some polls up on the player that you thought was a player of the game. Also, on whether you thought Michigan State kept the player in the gutter, and that would be Giovanni Amejiru. So I'll keep that poll open. We'll kind of go back and forth to it, so kind of a little extra engagement. Obviously, if you're in, please leave a comment. We'd love to see where you're coming from, where you're listening, and it was a great win today. All right, so let's talk about the game, Rod. It was a game that Michigan State, after probably 10 minutes into the game, it was kind of felt over. They not only shot well, but they played really hellacious defense throughout. And I think that was really the defining part of the game. I mean, I think obviously East Carolina is not great. And I think that was pretty clear too. They struggled, and they mentioned a number of times that, they're missing some of their key players throughout the game. But anyway, I thought not only the shooting good, but the defense is good, which of course led to all the things that you kind of expect to see from Michigan State. It felt like a game against a team that does not usually play against Michigan State with the break, because they really were able to punish East Carolina with a loose ball turnovers, with the break. They kind of did everything well, and really the interior defense is really fantastic. I mean, lots of blocks and just disruptive, very active hands. Sometimes teams have a bunch of turnovers because they're sort of unforced. A lot of these were forced today, and so I think that was really the difference. And I think the fact that Michigan State played two halves of the game too, because I think they were up 20 points at half and then extended out to over 40 points in the second half, where it just got sort of ridiculous. I think it went like a 20-1 run or something in the second half to totally finish the game, and even got the backups in with like almost 3 minutes left in the game.
Yeah, I think that was, on a team basis, there was a lot to be happy about, obviously. But the thing I was probably happiest about is the way they came out in that second half. And you said they pushed the lead. I think it was 23 at the half, but they had it up 19 at one point in the second half before, toward the end of the game, the last 6-7 minutes, all of a sudden Michigan State started having a bit of a struggle scoring. They hit some shots, made it, you can't say they made it look respectable, but they made it look marginally better. But I was really impressed with the intensity and the focus that Michigan State played with in that second half, because we've seen it a couple times this year, and you see it every year from teams. When you get out to a big halftime lead, it is very difficult to keep that focus and intensity at the same level that got you there. And Michigan State did it. The defense was just incredibly impressive. I mean, the first thing that is going to grab a lot of people's attention, of course, is the 3-point shooting.
Right. Yeah.
Not me. I mean, that was great, and we'll talk about that certainly, but it was the defensive focus for 40 minutes. I mean,
yeah, I think that was the key. 40 minutes, right? It wasn't just
the last play of the game. They're up 33. Denim Wojcik disrupts a pass, gets a steal to prevent them from having one more chance to score. I mean, it never stopped. And I thought that was really, really good to see. What it tells you, I think, as much as anything else, is for early in the season, this is an unusually focused team and a mature team.
Yeah.
They look like a team that's got 4 guys with starting experience back in that starting lineup. I mean, they really do. And then you add to that I think most all of the newcomers are really, really getting up to speed at that end as well. When you look at what Cam Ward and Jordan Scott and Divine Ugachukwu are doing defensively, I'd even say Jesse McCullough. Jesse McCullough had a tough assignment when he was in there today, battling a guy that's probably got 30 pounds on him and a bunch of years too. But I thought he hung in there. And even Kerr and Trey Fort as the supposed weak links have not been bad. So that's what I'm impressed with as much as anything, is the maturity and the consistency of what we're seeing from an energy perspective and specifically from at the defensive end. Yeah. Really happy with all of that.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think it's been a while since we've seen, I think you could really say 40 minutes of just that defense never let up. There wasn't a single, I can't think of even a 4-minute stretch where they just didn't play well. It was, again, East Carolina is not a good team. We talked about this before the game. We kind of knew this would not be a close game, but they made East Carolina look even worse than I think they are. I mean, there are definitely some players that can get some stuff done, and they didn't really give them any opportunity to make it any sort of game after they kind of got rolling again, just a little bit through the first half. It has been a while. I think we see this very often, and you said it's a mature team, but you'll see teams, you'll see Michigan State come out, they'll blow someone out for the first half. And then the second half is kind of like they play to a draw, or maybe it's about, it just was not the case today, which was really encouraging. And I agree. The 3-point shooting was very good to see. Obviously, Michigan State's now up to 189th. They're now white on Debar Torvik. They're no longer red as far as their 3-point shooting. But if anything, I don't want to say it's fool's gold, but I think the other part of the game was the part, I agree with you, that's more important, that the defensive intensity and then just able to really just kind of not ever let up on either end of the floor.
They are right now knocking on the door of being 33% from three on the year as a team. And that ranking nationally puts them middle of the pack. So the other thing is, last year, the entire season, they had 2 games where they were 40% plus as a team. They've already matched that.
Yeah.
I think it might be fair to say, it's early. Early results. We'll see more.
Yeah.
But this is not striking me at the moment as a bad shooting team from deep as much as it is perhaps a streaky one. We've even seen that in some games where the overall figure didn't end up great. I think it was the UAD game was that way, right? Or maybe it was San Jose State, where they got off to, or maybe both, where they got off to strong starts and then it sort of faded. That to me is what this team looks like, that they are fully capable of getting on a roll. And then they're also fully capable of missing 5 or 6 in a row, So that doesn't make you a bad shooting team. It makes you maybe a less than perfectly reliable one. But we now know, because we've seen it in 2 games, the capability is there for this team to shoot the lights out in a given game. Yeah. It's there.
Yeah.
Individuals, both Jeremy Fears and Jackson Kohler are way above 40% as individuals. Kurt Tang is at 33. Jesse McCullough is, I think he's at, God, I wanted to say he was over 50%.
Could be.
Really the only guy that's struggling individually, like really struggling among guys that you would count on to be Cohen Carr is shooting, I think, 36%. The only guy among your heavy volume shooters who's struggling really is Trey Fort. He's at 29%. But I think we know that's a guy that we would expect to end up with a better number than what he's got now before it's all said and done. So the shooting stuff, I'm not saying it's dead and buried. And again, when you say a team is streaky, that means they can easily have a game where they go 2 for 17. That could happen.
Yeah.
It's not something, they're not the kind of shooting team that you want to hang your hat on that phase of the game in, game out. But I think they're dangerous enough. They've shown that already, that teams are going to have to respect that, which is a big part of the battle. You want teams having to honor your 3-point shooting. And if they do, that's going to give you more opportunities. I mean, look, there's a clown, I guess, who fancies himself as some kind of analyst. I'm not even going to mention his name because he's not worth the clicks, on Twitter, who several days ago posted something. I don't understand why teams aren't going under ball screens every possession against Jeremy Fears because he can't shoot. Like, well, I can't shoot at all was the exact quote.
Right. Yeah.
The at all part is, beyond a shadow of a doubt, wrong.
Yeah, right.
We know that frequently free throw shooting precedes jump shooting. And last season, Jeremy Fears was a good free throw shooter. This year, he's an outstanding one. He's above 90%.
Yeah. Right.
But given that, it should, and the fact that in more limited attempts, he shot 34% from three last year, it shouldn't be surprising to anyone that he's been really good. He's not a guy who's going to go out and take 6 or 7 attempts. You don't want him to. That's not his game. But I think he's demonstrating that he's probably at the very least an adequate jump shooter at this point. The shot looks good. The results have been outstanding. I don't see any reason to expect that to fall off a cliff. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, so, no, I agree.
It was nice. Tell you another thing that was nice to see today. Jordan Scott finally getting one to go.
He finally got one to fall. I know.
1 for 13 now, so he's in there shooting a mean 0.8% on the year, but that's going to get better, and big for his confidence that he got one to go. We know that he's going to be a very good shooter in time. I mean, there's no reason to expect anything else. So, and then I did want to mention, I know we're going to go through individuals, but the guy he's probably not my player of the game. I guess we'll wait and see what that poll result is, but he was second on the list, and that's Divine Ugachukwu, another guy who had the reputation of being someone who couldn't shoot.
Right.
And we talked about it over the summer, like based on Moneyball, which you can't, we talk about this every year. You can't draw many conclusions from Moneyball, except what you can fairly, I think, deduce from those games is if a guy looks to have his shot improved. And I think that was the case. We saw enough. You saw it live, and I saw plenty of highlights.
Yeah.
It was like, that shot looks pretty good. That's not a funky release. There's no reason and sometimes this happens. I know we talked about it over the summer. There are times when a guy comes into college basketball, and I think it mostly comes down to two things: a little bit of confidence, but also a lot of just having a much quicker to close shot window than you're used to in high school. That it takes a while, even for guys who came in with good reputations as shooters, to have that translate fully. And look, he shot abysmally from three for Miami last year, but you could see over the summer that release looked good. There was no reason to think he was going to be a 17% shooter or whatever the hell he was last year. Yeah. Again, and I think we've seen enough signs of it in the early going into today. But today, 3 for 4, they all look great. His shot release is totally fine. No need to screw with that any further, in my opinion.
I agree.
And I guess in talking about him, I think we both felt like he's been steadily improving. I mean, I think we discussed it on the podcast, but I know we talked about it at the game. I thought his minutes in the Kentucky game were really big because Michigan State in those minutes did not let the lead slip.
Right.
They didn't that's what you worry about when you go to that second unit point guard is, are you treading water? Are you actually taking on water? Or are you able to build? And Michigan State was at least staying steady. And I think in the first half stint he played against Kentucky, they actually built on the lead.
They did.
When he was out there, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So that was really encouraging. And I think he's been steadily showing signs, getting better and better. And today, he just exploded. 16 points, which is a career high for him, including what he did last year at Miami. I thought he looked very good defensively again.
Yep.
And I thought he did a great job of running the offense. He had a great throw ahead in transition to Cam Ward, I believe, for a layup. That was just a great full court transition pass. Great vision, and then to actually complete the play, really impressive. He had that great and one finish earlier in the game. I mean, they're just, you have to be really, really happy for him, but even happier for Michigan State and its fans, because I think a big concern coming into the season for a lot of people was, okay, let's assume that Jeremy Fears is going to be even better than he was last year. That's great. But what do they do when he's off the floor?
Exactly.
They got to rest him, right? You can't play him 40 minutes, not the way Michigan State plays. And that was a real concern. And it's part of the reason why I think there's been more of an obsession with whatever's going on with Trey Holloman than there should be.
Yeah.
Because, of course, last year, that problem didn't exist because you had Trey Holloman who could step into that role in those minutes Jeremy wasn't on the floor for.
Right.
I'm not saying that Divine is going to be, playing at this level, game in, game out, but I've seen enough to believe, okay, on balance, Michigan State's going to be just fine in those minutes he plays. And I think that we haven't even really scratched the surface of how good he could be. I was part of a discussion yesterday on the Spartan Mag board. For those who don't know, Carlos Medlock's team, Link Academy, and Ethan Taylor's, by the way, played. They're part of this EYBL prep school league, which is all the major prep schools play in it. And they were playing, I think it's Wasatch Academy in Utah.
Wasatch or something. Yeah,
Wasatch, that's it. Yeah. Which is another highly rated team. There were like, I don't know, between both teams, I think there were 10 D1 players or high major players on the floor. I know that Link Academy has at least 5 themselves. So I believe it was high major players. And Carlos Medlock was player of the game. Had 21 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, looked really good defensively. And he's not going to be ranked in the top 30. He's not going to be a McDonald's All-American, but that's got nothing to do with his game. That's got to do with things like pro projections, which feed into rankings. Carlos Medlock is a top 30 player in his class in any meaningful way right now. And he proved it yesterday on a floor that was just filled with future high major players. He was the best guy out there. And so the discussion was, and I pointed out, I said, he's so good, but I wonder how often Michigan State next year will be able to play he and Jeremy Fears together. Offensively, it's fine because Carlos Medlock can shoot. You could play him off ball. But I worry about it defensively because even with Jeremy, as brilliant as he is defensively, there are times when he gets matched on a bigger guard where he does everything he can. He plays it well, and a guy just beats him with better offense because the guy's got 4 inches on him. That happens. Yep. So you're going to play 2 guys like that out there might be tough. But I had said, then again, if anybody can pull it off, Tom Izzo can. And then someone else chimed in and said, yeah, this is partially why I wonder what the future is for Divine Ugachukwu beyond this year. And my response to that was, I'd hold up on making any assessments, if for no other reason than I've already seen enough to suggest to me that it is not at all outside the realm of possibility that Divine can play minutes off the ball as well as on. And he's, 6'3", so that you can play him with Fears as they've already been doing this year, or with Medlock, and it can work defensively. I think you see a game like this today, and it further buttresses what my opinion was on this yesterday before the game, which is that don't go burying Divine Ugachukwu. I love Carlos Medlock. I think Carlos Medlock's going to be a great player at Michigan State, but we haven't even scratched the surface of what Divine Ugachukwu could be.
Yeah.
So
I think the
will
difference,
see, but very encouraging.
I think the difference with his game today over the previous times is I think he would fog out occasionally in the previous games. Like
Yes, agreed.
he'd have a great play and then he'd kind of mess up. And
Yeah.
I didn't get any impression that there was any of that this game. There was, he was,
Yeah.
and I don't want to make it sound like he was disengaged, like he was not paying attention but he just struggled, I think, kind of knowing where everything was, what's going on in previous games. And today he seemed to have a command of that. He had a lot of confidence, obviously, and that just carried over to his offensive end where he's, hitting the shots and shooting with confidence, which is quite frankly, the main problem with Jordan Scott, right? Like he looks like he's thinking about shooting.
Yep.
Right. It's just like you see the guy and he takes a really long time to wind up like Cam Ward at a shot, like a 10-footer. And they just miss it because I think they're just thinking about it too much.
Well, I think in regard to Divine, I would agree with that completely. But this is my point. We haven't seen what he's going to be yet because he's still going through a transition. Look, he played last year as a freshman and started for a truly abysmal team that was basically ending an era, the Jim Larinaga era. So that had to be about as bad a situation as you can find, And so you can't take much of anything from that. Now he's playing for a program that plays very differently. The standards are frankly much higher in terms of expectations for him as an individual and within the team concept. And so there's going to be a learning curve. And I think it's natural. We know this because we see it year in, year out from younger players at Michigan State or guys that are just new to the program. The adjustment they have to make in terms of what their responsibilities are, everything they're being asked to do, that goes double for a point guard.
Yep.
It's natural that he would be thinking at times instead of playing. Exactly. And when that happens, you can have those moments that actually you're focusing almost too much. You're thinking too much, and then you have those fog outs, as you said. But none today. He looked very comfortable. And, I saw Jackson Kohler had a quote after the game about his own performance where he said, you see the first couple shots go and you just get into that flow. And that's when I've talked in previous games about feel. It's anybody who's ever shot a basketball knows you can literally feel it. You have a visceral sensation when you have it rolling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think it definitely applied to Jackson today, but I think it also applied to Divine, where he just got rolling, and then you're not thinking, you're just playing.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's where you want to be, and it takes a little bit of time, and he's going to have up and down moments. It's not all addressed yet. We're going to see rough spots, I'm sure, but really, really encouraging stuff from him and this team. I mean, it's usually, a 33-point win. You just kind of say, hey, all right, they played a bad team. They played well enough to blow them out. Fine, next. I really did think there were some things that were beyond that for Michigan State today. I thought it was a really good game for Michigan State.
Yeah. Well, we've gone almost 24 minutes and haven't mentioned Jackson Kohler, who didn't miss today.
Yeah.
He had him 16 points, 6 for 6 from the field. 4 of those are 3-pointers, 8 rebounds, 2 of those offensive, had a turnover, no assists, which I thought he had assists here. Couple blocks, couple steals, played just 21 minutes and got a lot done in just those 21 minutes.
Yeah, they were really, as a team, when you mention that, I'll use that as a jumping off point for a second. As a team, East Carolina was actually pretty active with their hands early in that game too, but Michigan State, I mean, what did they have? 8 blocks, 13 steals.
Yeah.
So that's 21 of those big defensive plays, the stuff that everybody notices, right? And Jackson was certainly part of that. Look, he was great. I mean, I don't know let's see what the final minutes were.
He played 21.
Only 21 minutes. Yeah, so coach kind of held his rebounding down a little bit, which I'm not happy about, but we'll get to that in a minute. But 16 and 8 in 21 minutes is pretty good production.
Yeah.
There was a discussion. I'll see what you think. There was a discussion that was posted on the Spartan Mag board today after the game where someone noted, they said, I'm putting it out there. I think Jackson is now better than senior year Joey Hauser. Now they're not exactly the same player.
Right.
Jackson has much more low post game than Joey. I think Joey was a more versatile 3-point shooter than Jackson. Jackson's also a better rebounder because he's a force at both ends, whereas Joey was just basically a defensive rebounder. Correct. So they're not exactly the same player, but I do think on balance that might be a good call. For as good as Joey was that last year, they're getting more from Jackson overall. And I think that if this keeps up, no reason to think it won't, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay.
And Michigan State wins, meaning they're in contention for the Big Ten title. Jackson Kohler's doing the kind of things that end up with you on a first team or second team all Big Ten squad. He's at that level right now. He's been outstanding. There might be, I'd have to go through the list of the 9,000 teams that are in the Big Ten these days. But, boy, there can't be many big men, post players, that are having better seasons so far than Jackson Kohler is. I mean, he has been great.
Yeah.
And consistent, too. That's the other thing. Like, every game he's showing up.
Yeah. The only hesitation I have is that it's so early in the season.
Well, he has to keep it up.
Yeah.
And they've got to win.
I guess I'd make a statement like that if he gets through 10 games and we're looking about the same, then I'm going to say, okay, then we're probably better off with him than Joey Hauser, which.
Oh, that part of it. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, I think, but all the other stuff from an overall, like a well-roundedness, he's definitely more well-rounded, I guess you'd say. Yeah. There are more things that he does than Joey did. From a defensive standpoint, he's probably better, even though, and Joey
I'd say he's at least as good. He's at least as good.
And I think he's more blocks.
Because he's that's it. He's giving them blocks, which Joey really didn't do.
Exactly. The only difference, like from an offensive standpoint, from a 3-point shoot, which I know that's why everyone started talking about it this game, because we need a stretch four, someone who can hit the three.
It's one reason. There's another reason too.
But it is different the way he doesn't come off curls like Joey would. Like he's got to be spot up. At least that's part where his game is right now. He's not coming off a screen and hitting a three, while setting up. So that may be the next, that's probably the next thing to happen. But that's about the only thing he doesn't do that's different than what Joey did.
That's what I meant. He's a little less versatile perimeter player than Joey was. Joey was a spot up guy, and you could run him off curls, off picks. Jackson's pretty much just spot up.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's an interesting discussion point, I think. But in terms of his play, I mean, you just can't say enough good things about what Jackson Kohler has been.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I think, coming into the season, you want to say, what is going to be the keys to Michigan State having a really successful season? Jeremy Pierce has to be better, which I think he has in just about every way. Well, maybe not defensively. He's probably about the same as he was last year because he's really good. You have to have Carr, more from Carr, and I still think there's a lot more to unlock there, but he's been better than last year, working consistency. Yep. And Kohler has been as much as you probably could have expected. And I still think there's more there, but that's certainly from a shooting standpoint too, I think. And Cooper's been, especially the last couple of games, he's been a lot better as well. So, I mean, I think those seniors that you're really hoping for a lot out of, you've got, and it's just kind of the rest of the role players, and you're going to get more out of them. But they're definitely it's definitely the right trajectory. And for a team this early, is this a 6th game or the 5th game?
Yep,
I can't remember.
6th.
From a defensive standpoint, I mean, I can't remember them looking this good defensively, like this connected this early in the season. I mean, that's what's remarkable, because even last year's team, you had Akins and you had Holloman and you had Fears, 3 guys who were veterans. I mean, Fears not so much because he was still kind of new, but they certainly felt like 3 veterans in your front court. But now you have Kohler and Cooper, I think, even playing better than they were last year defensively. And that may be the difference too.
Yep. And I think it shouldn't be overlooked. I don't think Cohen is yet at the level he could get to, because I believe he could be a BJ Dawson kind of defensive player. But he has gotten much more consistent. There's no doubt in my mind about that. And that's a huge card to be able to play, because Cohen can go guard those, 6'5", 6'6" type players. Or, for example, when I talked about Jeremy Fears, a handful of times this year, there have been stretches of a game where, despite doing everything right, everything you would ask him to do defensively, he still gives up a bucket because he's trying to guard a guy who's got 4 inches or something along those lines on him, and he just can't deny it. Usually in those situations, what they've done is they've moved Cohen on those guys, and by and large, it's stopped the bleeding.
Yeah.
So to have a guy like that to add to everything else defensively, huge deal. But to your broader point, the fact that they are this connected, this consistent defensively, and we're not even into December, is a huge deal. Remember, we're usually talking like Christmas break, right?
Yeah.
As a time
got to
when,
figure things out. Yep. Right.
Get a chance to work on us. Let's get over the hump defensively and then get into Big Ten play, and you're where you want to be. This team, I looked, Ken Palm adjusted defense. I believe they are
at Bartogi, they're like 6th, I think. Oh, 20th, okay.
I believe. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll take a quick look. But it's incredibly, I'm sorry, make that 9th.
9th, okay.
They are 9th in the country on defense. So top 10 group right now, and that's a real number because they've already played
good real teams.
Two high major, 2 serious teams.
Right.
They're going to get another one 2 days from now.
Mm-hmm.
And so it'll be even more legitimate of a number once we see what happens there. But it's so impressive. And again, that was the big deal to me today, is that it never let up. It was, the situation was there for them to just kind of relax.
Yep.
And also, it should be noted, the amount of minutes that the second unit guys were getting was much higher than we normally see. You'd again expect, well, maybe there's a little leakage there. Those guys are still learning. And a lot of times they were just playing with each other. It wasn't like, well, you've got 2 of those guys out there with 3 starters, right? A lot of times it was a 4 or 5 man reserve group, and they held it together too. So really, really impressive stuff. You got to be very happy with the way that they're playing. I guess turning to some of the other guys, we should just run down the rest of the list. You mentioned Carson Cooper. Once again, I really like where he's at.
He's so good defensively now. You really appreciate, like, I've been watching some other teams play the last couple nights, and drop coverage or their inability to move, and he's just so good moving. I think you just kind of take it for granted. I know I do. I just kind of take it for granted now that he's going to be able to recover a lot of the times. I don't know.
We do, and frankly, we're used to it being fans of this program, because that is a demand that Tom Izzo makes of his 5s. The thing is, sometimes guys struggle for a while. Somebody like Marcus Bingham.
Yeah.
He got better. He definitely got better as he went, but that was a process. It was a multi-year process. Sometimes, rarely, you get the Andre Hudson, Antonio Smith, Draymond Green, Xavier Tillman, where they're just a savant and they get it almost immediately.
Yeah.
But that usually doesn't happen. Usually it requires growth. Carson, I think, was way ahead of where a normal freshman is in that respect, just because of his athleticism, his ability to move his feet.
Yeah.
But it still took some time for him to develop the nuances of what Michigan State asks of its bigs, of its 5s. I've said it for quite a while now. I thought he was the best overall defensive 5 in the Big Ten last year. People can talk about Nate Biddle and the shot blocks and all that garbage. That's not even close to the totality of what defense is. In the modern game, if you can actually play hard hedge coverage with your 5-man and you can switch, more or less with impunity, you are so far ahead of the game. I listened to, read some discussion about Michigan last night. Michigan's defense is grading out very well right now.
They look good last night.
But San Diego State was horrendous.
They look bad. I agree.
I could not believe how spineless, how lazy, because that program does. I hate Brian Dutcher with a passion. He's a scumbag, and his boss, Howdy Doody, Steve Fisher, was a scumbag. But the one thing I'll give those clowns is that they established a program ethos at San Diego State. Their teams generally play hard and with a lot of toughness. And I saw zero of that last night. It was gross how bad they were and how weak they were. Well, but anyway,
they lost earlier to Troy.
To get it back to the point, now that I got my opportunity to go after those two clowns. Somebody was saying, Michigan plays Mara, who is a problem around the rim. We saw that last year when he was at UCLA, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
But they play him in drop coverage. Why? Because they got no choice, because you can't put Mara out on the floor. He's going to get killed if you do that. But I think that the argument was, look, Michigan's going to give you those 2-point shots, and they think it's the analytic shit.
Right.
That they're going to give you those 2-point shots, and they're going to bet on you not being efficient enough with those. That's fine. And the math probably does, in most instances, grade out that if you can force teams into taking a steady diet of, say, 15-foot jumpers, it might, well, as long as you're doing enough at the other end offensively, blah, 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 it probably plays out okay with you. But what I don't like about that is that doesn't answer what happens when the other team is hitting those shots and you don't have the ability to do anything else. You're stuck. That, to me, first of all, if your goal is to win a national championship, not the way I'd want to be playing it. Because over 6 games of high-level basketball, you're probably going to run into somebody who makes you pay for that. And if you can't adjust, you're done. I much prefer the Tom Izzo approach where you say, we're going to guard you. We're not giving you jack shit. You're going to have to beat us. And a guy like Carson Cooper gives you the ability to square up against anybody and say, guess what? 40 minutes of this. and that's been a huge key to Michigan State's success over 30 years. They don't give stuff away. They make you take it. They make you earn it. So anyway, he's just looking. He missed the open 3 he had today. That was unfortunate. But in general, he hit I think he hit one mid-range jumper. That was good to see from Carson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, from like in his zone. I think that was really nice to see.
Yeah, and the rim dives and the big dunks and all that stuff is great. Had a good game rebounding the ball. Unfortunately,
it was great.
He had 8 as well.
And perfect from the line to 4 for 4. So that whatever the yips were, they're gone.
He's up to he's right at, I think, 69%. So he's climbing. He's going to be plus 70 in short order. The only guy, we can talk about Cohen. Yeah. He took a little bit of a step back today. I think he's at 65 on the year now.
2 for 5 today. Yeah. This is first 3. The second half, he had both of them. So I don't know if he was kind of.
Oh, he squeaked them both in. They weren't comfortable makes.
Trust me, I got tickets to the Final Four just squeaking a lot in, and that's
really, they all count
the same.
In the scorebook. They look the same.
Yeah.
With Cohen, I do want to get into this because I had a discussion about it on the mag board at halftime. And I'm watching North Carolina and St. Bonaventure on the same floor as we speak, although I haven't noticed quite as many problems yet in this game.
Were they playing was there an ice rink there before or something?
I don't think so, because it's Fort Myers. I mean, it's possible, but I don't think so. But here's the thing. At these kind of events, the decals,
I know. The decals
oftentimes are a real problem. And I would say about a third of that court is covered with decals. They've got multiple ones. Got to be another way to get the sponsors their name recognition.
Yeah,
and we know how you do it. You can superimpose it on the court digitally, right?
Yep.
You don't need to have these things out there. I think I speak for probably everybody listening to this. When Cohen Carr had that moment, my Michigan State basketball fandom life flashed before my eyes. And it kept happening. Guys kept both teams.
Yeah, lots of
kept
guys.
slipping.
Yeah.
Something's got to give. You can't. It was almost to the point where you're like, pull him off the I mean, this thought entered my mind fleetingly when about the fourth guy slipped. Like, call the game. Pull him off the floor if this is how it's going to be. We can't have this. You can't have guys getting injured at one of these things. It makes no sense. So,
yeah.
In
well,
any event,
it's not like you're getting the advertisers getting the eyeballs from the people in the stands. There's hardly anyone there.
Right.
I mean, relatively speaking, there are like a million watching on TV.
Yeah, not true in this game. I mean, Michigan State fans filled the place from what I could see.
But I mean, how big was it? That was a high school. That was a really big high school gym, right? I mean,
Probably
if you want advertising dollars, it's the stuff on TV, right? That's what you want. And like you said, you can superimpose that. No one's slipping on that sort of thing. There's other ways to get your message out. You're 100% right on that.
Yeah, it was terrible. But getting back to Cohen, thank God he did come back, and he had I thought after a first half after that event, you could kind of understand it. Why he wasn't imposing himself necessarily, but the second half was really encouraging.
Yeah.
I thought he was really aggressive. And that's how he has to play. Cohen, to be at his best, has got to be a downhill guy that is even he's just drawing fouls. I think they said he drew 4 or 5 fouls tonight. That's what you need from Cohen Carr. Do that. He hit a 3. As I said, I think he's at 36% on the year. He's never going to be a high volume guy, but that's good enough. People are going to have to guard him out there at that rate. And I thought he showed some defensive flashes in this game too. Rebounded okay. I think he had 4. So overall, solid game from him. I think we're all waiting for that Ole Miss Cohen Carr that was just
the game to happen. Yeah.
Clear cut, the most dominant player on the floor. We haven't seen that yet. I think he had a really good game against Arkansas.
Yep.
That was close, but it wasn't quite there yet. I think it's coming, but for the time being, I'm not going to get angry about 13-4 with good defense.
No.
It's just that he's got more.
Yep. I don't know if there's anyone else to talk about specifically. I mean, I think, Cam Ward has kind of been Cam Ward, 9 points, 4-7 from the field, split his free throws, 4 rebounds.
Liked his game. There's and
just kind of who he is now.
Look, that was a huge team, and they try to play through their bigs. We talked about that a little bit, how much size they had. I thought Cam measured up. Jordan Scott hit that 3. I think that's big for his confidence. I did want to touch on something you said a while ago. You mentioned Jordan when we were talking about Divine and guys that maybe look like they're just thinking a little bit too much. I do think that's the case, but it's funny. Jordan doesn't look to me ever as if he lacks confidence. That's distinct from just not quite fully being in sync 100% offensively.
Yep.
At the other end, though, once again, just deflecting balls, using that length. Yeah. He is going to be a pain in the ass for people with what he can do defensively.
Yeah.
So really, really, really happy with what I'm seeing from him. Kurtang didn't get a ton of run in this one. I think in part because Divine played more 2-guard minutes than we're used to, but he did hit another 3.
Yep.
Had a couple hustle plays that I liked in this one, but solid in limited minutes. And then Trey Fort, it's funny. He's going to be the guy on this team, maybe the only guy that you're going to look at and say, that shot really wasn't quite in rhythm, maybe forced. I'm beginning to think maybe they don't ever fully get that out of him this year.
Yeah.
It's hard for a guy who's been, a world traveler and is doing a 1-year stopover in East Lansing to really fully get it. But I'd say on the other hand, I don't know that I'm particularly bothered by it because he's also capable of being a shot maker. He's a guy who can hit those shots. And you look at it today, he had, 9 points on 4 for 10 from the floor, 1 for 4 on threes, but that's okay. That's not terrible. There are a couple of those shots where I felt like, you didn't need to take that one, but that's who he's going to be. And there are times when they're going to be glad they've got a guy who has that level of extreme confidence because he can go make play. He had that fadeaway jumper on the baseline that I think really is emblematic of what he can do that maybe nobody else on that team will.
Yeah.
Is just kind of go get a shot and make it out of not a whole hell of a lot.
Yeah. I think we saw his athleticism on the break that one time
That
to the
too.
dunk, and then his block on the other end where,
block.
boy, he can really jump too. I mean, that
I'm
guy.
glad you mentioned that
Yeah.
because we talked about it in the summer, what we were hearing. It's like, wow, they might have both wings running the lane like that in transition. And for whatever reason, the opportunities have just not been there until today for Trey to really show that off. But you're right. Those 2 plays were sensational.
Yeah. All right. Well, why don't we move on then? I think that's probably something. I guess the only thing you'd say, McCullough, I think is just looking more and more comfortable every time out there.
Yeah.
Defensively, he looks much better. So I can see what the coaches were seeing last year, and I think what we saw early in the season, I think those with just more time on the court, he's just looking like he belongs out there a lot more, and it's an option that you feel less concerned about going to at this point, I think.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, this was an instructive game because he was dealing with their big kid pretty much every minute. I think he played 14 or 15 minutes, and almost all of those he was guarding their primary big man. And as we talked about earlier, that guy probably had 30, 40 pounds on him, a lot of experience. Yeah. That's a tough matchup. That's the kind of matchup that he will see at times in the Big Ten. It was good for a team that's nowhere close to Big Ten level. That was one area where they did give MSU a good test. Yeah. All their bigs guarding that kid because that kid could play in the Big Ten. And I thought Jesse hung in there. There was a time or two where he just kind of got master blasted out of there physically, but he also had a shot block on that kid. He had 2 blocks in the game, and one was directly on that guy in the post. It was a great defensive play. He hangs in there, man. He doesn't back down. You see the compete level, you see the intelligence. It's just, he's got to continue to get stronger. I think he's strong enough to play now, don't get me wrong. But is he where he's going to be in another year or 2? No. Because he's going to get more and more mature physically and then look out with what he's going to be able to be as a defender. Because everybody you talk to, every discussion I've ever had about him going back to last year is this guy understands conceptually what they need defensively, and he talks, which that's ideally what you want from a guy in his role in Michigan State's defense. You want somebody who's almost a quarterback of the defense because they're in the best, where he is on the floor, he's in the best position to see what's developing. He talks, he calls stuff out. That's a huge, huge deal for a young guy. He doesn't have to learn it. He's already there. He's not afraid of the sound of his own voice.
And that's what Tillman was so good at an early stage too. And that's what
Draymond him. And the guys who have been really, Andre Hudson, Antonio Smith, the guys who have been really, really elite in that role all do that. And I think that's why I have a lot of confidence in him as a defender as he goes. I mean, right now you'd say, is there slippage when you go from Carson Cooper to Jesse? Yeah, because Carson Cooper is elite. But you see Jesse on that track where he's going to be another guy down the line we talk about at that level, I think.
Yeah. Well, and you almost wonder if in some ways he might be a little better because he has more stretchability than Cooper does. And from the offense,
I'm just saying defense. I'm just talking about.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying.
Overall,
I wonder. Yeah,
absolutely.
I wonder if there's more. Yeah,
absolutely. You're right, because that shooting ability is legit, and I think he's also a guy who, in time, I'm not saying he's going to be Derek Nix or Zach Randolph, but I think he will give you post play too offensively. I think he's got a nice touch around the rim, but that stretch ability is a separator.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about the player that Michigan State needed to keep in the gutter was Giovanni Amejiru. Brought to you by the Brothers Just Do Gutters. So, friends, if you have problems with your gutters or you just need them cleaned out or something, have them get on that now. The snow is coming, at least here in the west side of the state. So get them on the job now before it gets a little bit out of hand. You want to make sure those gutters are working properly. So when the snow melts, it goes down the gutters and doesn't end up on the side of your house, in the foundation, and in your basement. So head on over to our support page at the Final Four is on the schedule.com/support. There you can find links to get to either Kurt or Greg, wherever you are in the state of Michigan, and they can come out and take care of those gutters for you. 10% off if you mention Final Four when you get your estimate. Those guys do great work. They get on the ladder so you don't have to, and they can, again, repair things, just clean them out, put leaf guards on, whatever it is you need. They can take care of all that stuff. So Giovanni Amejiru was the player that you selected as the player to keep the gutter. He finished with 9 points. He was 3 of 10 from the field. Didn't attempt any threes, which he doesn't usually do anyway. 3 of 4 from the line. 8 rebounds, 1 of them offensive. 4 turnovers, no assists, a steal. I think things that jump out, obviously the points, but the fact that he only attempted 4 free throws, I think he was averaging almost over 10 a game or something like that before.
10
yeah,
exactly.
And only 30% from the field. I think he was averaging like 60% or something, if I recall.
Yes,
he kind of knew who he was. So anyway, what do you think? And I'll get the see what our listeners thought.
Gutter, absolutely. They did a great job because that kid is a load. Like you see him, he is put together. That is a high major big man. I'm not saying in the Big Ten he'd be a first team all league guy, but that is a guy. Let me tell you, I can think of a few teams, Rutgers, Minnesota, Penn State, that could use that kid, and he'd be starting for those teams and would be a big part of what they try to do. So that is a Big Ten level test. And I think anytime you hold a big man to 3 for 10 and you don't put him at the line, 7 free throw attempts is pretty good, but it's not the 10 he'd been averaging.
No, he had 4 free throw attempts.
Oh, 4. I'm sorry. So way down.
Yeah, way down. Yeah.
And you've turned him over 4 times. That's impressive stuff. That's a really good test for Michigan State to face and deal with the bigs. And, 4 guys, because I don't know if Ward ever got him, even on a switch or anything, but definitely maybe, Kohler, Cooper, and McCulloch all had their turns on them. I thought they all showed up. So, very happy with the job they did on that kid.
All right, so our poll is very limited because there aren't many people who have figured out the whole polling thing, but we do have kept in the gutter. We had 17% thought so, 33% thought some drips got through, partly stopped, but the players still scored or made plays, but Michigan State kept it manageable. Clogged the downspout, mostly stopped. That was half the respondents, and then no one felt he overflowed the gutter. So those are the four respondents.
Tough crowd.
Well, some people are like expecting everything, I guess, So,
we need to
figure out the gradations. Yeah. Well,
let's keep it real.
Yeah. Well, hey, we demand a lot. Izzo demands a lot, right? I'm sure Izzo, if you asked him, he'd say keep him in the gutter, right? Yeah. So there you go. All right. So that brings us to the Who Cleans the Glass Best, brought to you by the Squeegee Squad of Grand Rapids. If you need your windows cleaned or your house washed, contact the Squeegee Squad of Grand Rapids today. If you're anywhere near Grand Rapids, make sure you get them on the job. They can take care of it because they'll get on the ladders because you're not going to, especially in this slippery weather. Have those guys take care of things. They can get it done still now before it gets too wintry. Pretty soon they're going to have to be doing their interior painting, which they do in the winter. But right now, you can still get those windows cleaned before it's too late. So contact Troy and his team. 15% off if you mention Final Four when you get your estimate. And of course, you can do that at our support page at tffinots.com/support. All right. So you actually got the upset last week because I had Kohler and you beat me. And this time you had Kohler. You got to pick first. And that's basically what it means. If you have Kohler, you're picking first. So you're up 3-2 and we end up tying. It was 12-12. You had Kohler and Ward. And Ward just got a cheapie at the very end. It was kind of tipped to him from McCullough. Got credit to Ward. So, it counts though. So you managed to pull off to manage to tie it up. So I
Wow.
consider it a win, even though I didn't win. The fact that I didn't
Yeah,
go
and,
down 4
and
to
I
2.
consider it a win because Jackson Kohler got the handicap applied by only getting to play 21 minutes.
Yeah.
So
Well, I
I'll
mean,
take
that was
it. I'm not
that
happy
was the risk.
because you want the win on Kohler Day, right?
Right.
Like,
yeah, for
it's
sure.
like throwing Tarek Skubal out there. You expect to win when you've
Yes.
got him going, but you know, I'll take the push. I'm still up.
Right. You're still up 1 with however many games left to go. A lot. We'll just see.
Yeah.
All right. So then that brings us. Oh, and by the way, I have changed the poll now. So you can go to the poll and it is now who you think is the player of the game. So we've had quite a few votes still. So I'll let you guys get in that. And Rod doesn't know what the votes are right now, even though I do. So, so now we go to the 5 keys of the game, brought to you by the Squeegee Squad of Grand Rapids. Sorry, by Nudge Printing, where you still have until midnight. So you still have a chance to enter the free drawing for the Tom Frickin' Izzo, which is the super comfortable Nudge hoodie. It's like I'm wearing now, but of course it's a Tom Izzo and it's Kelly Green. Head on over there to nudgeprinting.com/win. Not only can you get to our poll, but you can our gear if you want to buy that, but also you can get to a chance to enter the drawing for free. Just enter your email address. It's super easy. Again, the drawing happens at midnight tonight. We'll announce the winner before the North Carolina game, at the North Carolina game. So the 5 keys of the game brought to you by Nudge Printing. First one is second chances. And this is one where we thought that, East Carolina's decent. They were a decent defensive rebounding team. Michigan State is obviously a really good offensive rebounding team. And then East Carolina is not a good offensive rebounding team. Kind of a little surprising on this. Michigan State won the overall rebounding battle, of course, but from an offensive rebounding standpoint, Michigan State had 13 offensive rebounds. East Carolina had 11, which sounds really bad, except that East Carolina missed so many shots. So they still ended up with 34% rebounding rate. Michigan State with 39.4. I would say it was kind of weird because there were so many blocks by Michigan State that those counted as missed shots. And then, they block it into East Carolina. So they got a couple not real offensive rebounds, I guess you'd say. It still counts that way in the final standings, but anyway, that's kind of what
they had 8 team offensive rebounds.
Yeah.
Which means those are balls that went off Michigan State.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's a little bit of a distorted number.
Yeah.
I thought Michigan State was a little more dominant than the numbers suggest, but the numbers are what they are.
But I guess I'll just jump in. There's that second chance points, which is more a reflection of actually 17-5 edge of Michigan State, which again,
that's why
kind of buttresses your point that they were out of bounds and they had to just, it's like a new offensive.
They weren't getting an offensive rebound and an immediate putback attempt.
Right.
That didn't happen often. So MSU dominated there, winning that battle by 12. Knocking on the door of 40% offensive rebounding rate against a team that's top 100 in defensive rebounding coming in, that's reasonably good work. Can't be upset about that. And again, not a fluke. That team's got a ton of size. And Michigan State did the job. Frustrating. I thought defensive rebounding for MSU, which gets back to this team rebound thing, was more frustrating than anything else because I just thought MSU was unlucky in a lot of instances with balls just going off somebody. They're actually in the best position to get a rebound. They just couldn't secure it. There were several of those situations. And give East Carolina credit. I mean, they were competitive on those opportunities and forced some of that. But, it did not feel like a game where MSU's defensive rebounding failed the test. Statistically, you would give them a failing grade because East Carolina was on the plus side of 30. But it didn't feel that way. And as you point out, that's made evident by this lack of second chance points that East Carolina was actually able to get.
And the second key to the game was aggression. And this is one that was a little, we expected East Carolina to rack up a lot of fouls on Michigan State because that's what they do, especially Giovanni down low. They ended up with 26 free throws, which is a lot.
Yeah.
and I feel like most of those were in the second half. I have to check
Yep.
back, but Michigan State
Yeah.
only 8 of 12 from the line for the game, which is partly, we saw this again in the Kentucky game where they were hitting all the threes. Well,
Yep.
they're not going to be inside as much. So you could say there's some of that. And when they were on the break, they just would score. It's not like East Carolina was fouling or trying to stop them from scoring. They're just kind of scoring. So
I would say, and Michigan State dominated. Let me see what the final number was. But Michigan State, besides all the threes, Michigan State also had a 36-12 edge in points in the paint.
Yeah.
So
right.
it's kind of hard for me to say, oh, MSU wasn't as aggressive as you would have liked. Then look, taking 28 shots from three, which even when you're hitting, I feel like that's a few too many for this team, but whatever. It will affect that, but I think it was just that Michigan State was actually just really efficient for the most part offensively, and and East Carolina, for whatever reason, was not fouling the way they normally do. I mean, this is a team
that's what we were expecting.
Fouls a ton. They are sub 300 in foul rate, and they just really didn't foul.
No,
in this one,
it wasn't like his badly called game. They just weren't
right. I'm not. Even though the free throw, 12 free throw attempts, that is not what you want to see from MSU. But I'm not that upset because watching the game. This is one where if you were looking at the box score and you didn't see the game, you might say, oh, they weren't aggressive enough.
Yeah. Maybe.
Watching it, it felt like they were appropriately aggressive. They just didn't get fouled.
Well, I mean, they scored 90 points. And It's not like they were flying up and down the court a ton. I mean, there were times when they were in transition, but it wasn't like I never felt like they were really stagnant for long periods of time. That they were
there was one
stretch.
Trouble. There was one stretch in the second half in the last 10 minutes where they struggled for a few minutes to score, but plays just weren't, they weren't converting shots. It wasn't bad offense. It's just, they weren't getting rewarded. And that'll happen. But yeah, I'm with you. There were not those, what people start getting furious about, where you might go through like a 5 or 6 minute stretch where it just feels like nothing, AJ
dribbling around,
dribblitis. None of that.
Yeah. And I was right that there were 7 free throws in the first half and 19 in the second half for East Carolina. So they definitely,
so you're right. Yeah.
Definitely attacking a little bit more. They were a little more aggressive, forcing the issue. All right. So again, of course, as a reminder that Nudge Printing, you can head on over to Nudge Printing at nudgeprinting.com. You get 20% off. You enter the coupon code. They're having their Black Friday sale right now. So they've got some fantastic deals. Gabe's got a bunch of stuff up there right now. So head and go over to nudgeprinting.com. Start getting that stuff. Get it. That way you've got it taken care of. Super comfortable, high quality stuff. And you just type in the code TIFFNOTS, that's TFFINOTS, to get 20% off as a listener to the show at Nudge Printing. You'll be very glad. I think they have flat shipping right now too for part of the Black Friday sales. Just $7 to get as much stuff as you want shipped. All right. So the third key to the game is a transition game. This is the first game I felt like Michigan State really had that humming. They were 23-7 on fast break. Points off turnovers, it was 31-9. So, I mean, East Carolina was kicking the ball around a lot. A lot of them were live balls, like you mentioned before, like 13 steals from Michigan State. So they definitely were always looking to run too, which really, really is great to see.
Great job in transition. Tom Izzo mentioned it after the UAD game that he felt like the transition game was just not quite where they need it to be in the last couple. And that was, in my opinion, at least, I don't know how he felt about it. I didn't listen to the post game, but I thought they were really good and really intentional running the break. We didn't even talk, I don't think, at least not directly, about the game that Jeremy Fears had.
Not really. No.
Just kind of a ho-hum.
It was kind of that way. I felt like he was fine.
9 assists,
an average.
3 turnovers, a little below his 5-to-1 ratio that he's running on the season. I think he's at 61 assists in 6 games and 13 turnovers, which is remarkable.
Yeah.
But he had some highlight moments for sure on the break. He had one to Carr, he had one to Fort.
Yep.
Divine Ugochukwu, I thought looked pretty good in transition today, running the point, and
There's not as much
everybody.
drop off as there was earlier, right? That's
Right,
I think
right.
that it's still not the same, but it's not
No,
nearly a big cliff
but
drop like it was early.
listen, that's a standard to say. Well, it's not the same. Yeah, it's true, but that's also an incredibly high standard.
Yeah.
I know you know this, but it's just worth mentioning. I mean, historically, point guards that were better in transition than Jeremy Fears, not many.
No,
Mateen Cleaves is certainly there,
of
and
course.
but Jeremy, we may feel another 2 years from now that that's changed. And Cassius Winston, a very different style.
Yeah.
But those would be the two guys. I think even other great point guards in this program, like Kalen Lucas, like Drew Neitzel, they were not the complete point guard in transition that Jeremy Fears is. He's special.
I agree. Yeah. All right. So the fourth key to the game is the two guards. And actually, this reminds me of, we had a question from King of Clom 45 earlier in the show, which now kind of fits in, but she catching up with the show. Jesse scored. Oh wait, no, that's not the one here. Sorry. One more up. Not sure what you guys think, but it seems like Trey and Kerr are both trying to play harder and harder defense and be closer to their man.
Yeah.
And I think that was, their offense was maybe not as impressive as it was against Kentucky, because I definitely think got more done offensively that game.
Sure.
But I think defensively, they look like less a weak link where they're causing problems. Now, that may be just because East Carolina is not able to generate as much pressure on the defense as well. Like, but I think it's just, they're just kind of fitting more. And that's what you expect with more reps. And they're almost kind of like what you expect Michigan State's defense to be this far in the season. But everybody else is so much better and like right on point that they kind of stick out a little bit more. But I think it's just because everybody's just kind of like locked in.
Yeah. And look, when you've got four guys that are at a high level, you can afford one guy on the floor, generally speaking, who's only okay. I mean, look, Cassius Winston was not a great defensive player in his time at Michigan State. He got to the point that he was functional his last couple of years. That was good enough because everybody around him, Matt McQuaid, Kenny Goins, Xavier Tillman, Aaron Henry. I mean, those guys were all great. This team, Fears and Cooper would deserve to be, in my opinion, on any list of the better defensive players Izzo's had individually. And then I think Cohen Carr is getting there. And we talked about Jackson Kohler, who has improved to the point that you feel like he's trustworthy, he's reliable. So yeah, I think you're right. I think that those guys are fine at the moment. I do think they're playing harder and maybe with a little more consistency. But we're gonna see better tests.
Yeah.
Starting Thanksgiving
pretty soon.
Yeah. And once they get into Big Ten play night in, night out, those guys are going to get tested. A lot of good two guards in the Big Ten.
Right.
But I'm not unhappy with where they're at.
And the fifth and final key to the game is post defense. And I think we've talked kind of at length about this already, but
pretty good.
Great post defense today. I mean, not only did they shut down Giovanni, but they also really just prevented anyone from causing problems. And I think the help defense too, which is part of post defense as well, like the digging and stuff like that was super effective and active hands. And I think Michigan State this season, well, I mean, I think maybe it's not, I think they certainly are much longer as far as their inability to sort of tip balls, just like a Jordan Scott and Trey Fort are just a little bit bigger, I think.
Do you remember when we had John Borovich on this off season, we asked him, it feels like there was an active attempt to get longer positionally. Yeah. Was that just happenstance or was that by intent? And he confirmed what we suspected, which is it was by intent. I don't think it was all just about the Auburn game. I think that would be foolish.
Right.
But I do think one thing that the Auburn game, everybody's focused on the way Michigan State didn't shoot the ball in that game. And that was a problem too. But I really felt that the thing that was the biggest issue, because hell, Michigan State didn't shoot the ball very well all year last season. It didn't matter.
Right. Yeah.
But I really did feel there were times where Auburn's perimeter guys, it's what I talked about with Jeremy, right?
Yep.
Michigan State's guards were tremendous last year defensively. But if you are 6'2" and you are guarding a guy that's 6'7", there are going to be times where you might play it as well as you can, and physically you just can't stop it.
Exactly.
And so, and let's remember, Michigan State tried to get even longer than they are. If Caleb Glenn was able to play, we'd be talking about another 6'7" guy able to play on the perimeter. So I definitely think that, I don't think, we know now because we heard it from Borovich,
right,
that there was an intent to get longer, and we are seeing it. I think when you see, Cohen Carr operating pretty much exclusively on the wing, I'd say about 90% of his minutes are coming there. Yeah. You see Jordan Scott, you see Trey Fort with all his athleticism, can play even taller than he is. Divine is a pretty long 6'3". You see it showing up. We're going to see what kind of difference that makes over the course of a season, but I definitely think it is something that is showing up. And the interior is playing big too. I mean, 8 shot blocks today against a big team that wants to go through their post players. That was really impressive. Yeah, I think you got to be really happy with the job they did defensively across the board, but definitely in the post.
All right, so let's talk about the player of the game. Let's see how many people. I don't even know how many people.
This is the play of the game or the player
of the game. Player of the game. If I can figure out how to do this. So there we go. So it's pretty overwhelming here that half the votes came in for Jackson Kohler.
Yeah.
And then Divine Ugochukwu is a close second. Then it was followed by Fears and Cooper as getting a vote each. I think that is pretty clear. Jackson was, for what he played, he was dominant on both ends of the floor. I mean, it's hard to be perfect from the field shooting.
When you go 6 for 6 and you rebound and you do some other things, you block some shots, you make plays, you do some other things as well. That's going to be player of the game most of the time. It's unfortunate for Divine because, boy, Divine played well. And, he's not going to be a guy who's going to get the chance for that very often.
Probably not. Yeah.
Sentimentally, whereas Jackson, this isn't going to be the last one. So, where sentimentally I might say, boy, it'd be great for Divine to get one of those because he really played well and deserved it. But you can't go against Jackson Kohler, the job he did.
I agree. So that poll will be open for the North Carolina game starting, I don't know, before the game starts. So you can go in anytime. And again, it's at slido.com. And then the hashtag is going to be our TIFNOT. So TFFINOTS. That'll get you the poll questions, both the player to keep in the gutter and then also the player of the game. Let's kind of try it out and see if we have fun doing that and get a little more interaction here. We'll get more votes, I think, next time. And also we'll be live after the game as opposed to hours after the game like today. So I appreciate all these. Quite a few tuned in today, so that was really nice. One of the questions came into a question from a Carson Thermike about the crowd. Felt heavily MSU, which you'd expect. You probably aren't a whole lot of traveling East Carolina fans. They don't have weather to escape from like the people in Michigan. But wondering about the North Carolina game, I don't know. Are you watching? Or
I'm watching it right now as we speak.
I imagine there are quite a few North Carolina fans.
Heavy Carolina turnout. Yes.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what. I guess I don't have any feel for what's going to be like on Thanksgiving.
I would think 50-50 split. One interesting thing, and I don't know, not being remotely a snowbird, but I don't know if this is a little early for people to have gone south for the winter. But the fact that this is played in Fort Myers, I would just my gut, and I don't think I'm wrong about this. My gut would tell me there are probably more Michigan people who winter in Fort Myers than North Carolinians.
Oh, I don't think there's any question.
Right, because as you said, North Carolina, they don't have the same need to get out of the cold. I don't know if this is a little early for people to have gone down there, but regardless, when you see that kind of turnout from Michigan State people today, that I would kind of expect something around a 50-50 split. We'll see if I'm wrong about that. I'm not, trust me, I didn't see what we saw in New York coming, not to that degree with Kentucky fans. So you never know. North Carolina travels extremely well. That much I can tell you. We all know that. Great fan base, great tradition, all those things. But I would think I'd be surprised if it's not a 50-50 on that one. So it should be a great atmosphere. Carolina's getting everything they want from St. Bonaventure at this point. They're in the second half. It's a single-digit game. But it's going to be another great test. They're not, they're definitely a better team than they were last year. Their front court is massively improved. If you remember, that was a weak spot. They arguably didn't even have a true center last year. And they've got not just size, but very good size. Their two best players are probably their two biggest. So it's going to be another game like this one, but times whatever multiplier you want to use. Test for Michigan State's interior guys. But based on what we've seen this season, I say bring it on.
Yeah.
I'm not, with Carson Cooper, Jackson Kohler, Cam Ward, Jesse McCulloch, I'm okay rolling against anybody with those guys.
Yeah. I'm 100% with you there.
See what you got.
And we will have some great pre-game coverage coming to you tomorrow. So tune in tomorrow. And then we will, of course, be post-game again with the poll. So please join us. You can go either to nudgeprinting.com/win, which then it'll have the link to the polling, but also, again, you have until midnight to enter the contest for the drawing for the free sweatshirt through Nudge Printing. So until next time, the Final Four is on the schedule. Go green.